Good evening, guys. Well, today was a nice long day. It was Sunday. Got to work on it a full day. Started out, put the motor mounts. They were painted. Went ahead and installed them and Loctited all the bolts. Put on the alternator. Started finishing the fabrication. If you notice, I've already started on a mount for the AC, but there's a slight problem I found out today. That was the plan. I'm not sure if you noticed, but even with the body lift, the AC is too high. That kind of surprised me a little bit. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there. Kind of stopped me in my tracks. I was really hoping to get that AC bracket finished up, but yeah, that's not gonna work. Somebody recommended just putting a massive hood scoop on here. It might happen. I don't know. I really like my AC. I might try to see about putting it down there, but I gotta be careful. If I put it down there, I might block the oil filter, or maybe jumping to the other side. I'm not sure at this point where I'm gonna put the air compressor, AC compressor at. So when that happened, I took the wind out of me. I took a little break. Figured maybe I'd sit and think about it for a little while. Then I came back and started working on some little stuff. The windshield wiper windshield wiper modes reinstalled. You know, all those little things that you remove or have to disconnect while you're doing a motor swap. I did also. I installed the hydraulic lines for the steering, the gearbox. Both that and the return should be all hooked up. Clean those lines up. That was the original 4BT hydraulic line. I had to put a bend in it right there. It might be too much of a bend. We'll see. Then I started with the fuel system. So right now I was trying to run it out of gas. So I was running around with no gas, but obviously can't get all the way out of gas. You're stuck on the side of the road without gas. So while I was driving around trying to run this thing out of gas, I did keep a gallon of gas in the back of my truck, but it didn't happen. So I still had a little fuel in the tank, so there's a couple of ways to get it out. But one thing I did is I popped off the fuse box and hot wired the fuel pump, and then sprayed it out into a container. So that definitely saved me a lot of headache. Got rid of a lot of that gasoline. There was only about maybe 2 gallons of gas in there. There wasn't very much left in the tank. I think it's about a 20-gallon tank, so I'm pretty happy with. I'm sure there's some down there, but that's all that pulled out of the fuel filter. Or sorry, the fuel pump. After that, I started on the transmission lines. I installed both transmission lines, which is rather difficult doing after the transmission's been put up there. I was able to work through that issue. You can see the transmission lines coming. Where there's one, there's the other coming out there. Now, something I was kind of surprised that's giving me a headache is the transmission tunnel, not the transmission tunnel, but the oh man, I'm tired. It's late. The transmission stick, yeah, that you check the transmission fluid with. I'm not sure what they call the transmission fluid stick. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, that guy is being rather difficult. So what I'm probably have to do is probably tomorrow. I'm not sure if you noticed that the lift's not even around anymore. I have to put it back and lift it up a little bit, and then move it over to maybe gain some clearance to get that that transmission fluid stick in there. And then we'll work through some small stuff. A lot of really getting down to the small stuff. I guess the big thing left is the AC compressor. Not quite sure what I'm going to do with that one. But I still got to put the truck back together. You know, got a radiator. Still haven't test fired it. I got to finish the fuel system. I'll have to take out the fuel pump, because the fuel pump on these engines is right back there. It's actually attached to the block. It's a mechanical fuel pump, not electric fuel pump. So I'll have to drop the gas tank, or most likely I'll go through the top and pull out the gas tank, pull out the fuel pump, put a piece of line there, and then run it. Yeah, we're really getting down to some of the smaller stuff. Hopefully this next week, this guy will be done. Still haven't ran the lines for the transmission controller. There's definitely a few things to do. Might looks like a mess in here, but it's getting there. All right, guys. Well, y'all have a good night.